Hello and welcome to our nightly news. These are the headlines. On behalf of the President of the Republic, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces and Minister of National Defense, Abdelmajid Tebboune, Army General Said Chingriha, Chief of Staff of the PNA, oversaw the installation of the General Sid Ahmed Bourmana as Acting Commander of the National Gendarmerie. The World Bank has acknowledged Algeria's efforts to build a dynamic economy, highlighting its strategy to diversify exports beyond hydrocarbons. Algerian television continues to play a leading role in countering propaganda campaigns, while journalist training programs focus on raising professional standards. International news. The U.S. President's Special Advisor for Middle East and African Affairs affirmed that the Trump administration is working towards a resolution of the Western Sahara issue that satisfies both parties and ends the large suffering of over 200,000 Sahrawis. Amid a deep crisis in the French political scene, the provocative attitude and practices of the French Interior Minister has largely been pointed out, as they are far from any political line. Welcome back, everyone, to tonight's news. On behalf of the President of the Republic, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, Army General Said Chingriha, Mr. Delegate to the Minister of National Defense, Chief of Staff of the PNA, presided over the handover and installation ceremony of General Sid Ahmed Bourmana as Acting Commander of the National Gendarmerie, replacing Major General Yahya Ali Al-Haj. Najah Tayyar with the details.
After the welcoming ceremony, the Army General observed a moment of silence at the entrance to the National Command Gendarmerie headquarters in memory of the Shaheed Al-Arbi bin Mehdi, for whom the command headquarters is named. The Army General then laid a wreath of flowers in front of the stele commemorating the Shaheed and recited the Fatiha in his memory and that of the valiant Shuhada. The Army General then inspected the squares of the National Gendarmerie personnel lining the parade ground. Before announcing the official installation of the new commander of the National Gendarmerie, the Army General started the speech, saying that in the name of the President of the Republic, Supreme Chief of the Armed Forces, Minister of the National Defense, and in accordance with the Presidential Decree of April 14, 2025, he officially installs the General Sid Ahmed Bourmana as interim commander of the National Gendarmerie, replacing Major General Yahya Ali Al-Haj.
ونصب رسميا العميد سيد أحمد بورمانا قائدا للدرك الوطني بالنيابة خلفا للواء يحيى علي والحاج.
Therefore, he ordered him to work under the President of the Republic's authority to follow his orders and carry out his instructions in the interests of the service and application of the military regulations in force and the laws of the Republic, and by demonstrating loyalty to the sacrifices of our valiant Shuhada and the values of our glorious revolution. The Army General then presided over the ceremony to hand over the national flag to the new commander and signed the handover minutes. After presiding over the handover ceremony, the Army General delivered a speech to the National Gendarmerie executives and staff in which he emphasized that bringing together the requirements of security and stability in our country, fostering its development and progress, and giving it the place it deserves in the concert of the nations are major challenges which every man loyal to his blessed land is called upon to devote all his strength and efforts to meeting. And he added that under the leadership of the President of the Republic, Supreme Chief of the Armed Forces, Minister of the National Defense, and the PNA, alongside all the loyal children of our country, is working to achieve this goal and by fulfilling our commitment to the message of the valiant martyrs and defeating the designs and aims of the enemies of the Algerian people. The Army General also stressed that the enemies who have never digested our country's independence nor endured its resilience, its strength, its unity, its social cohesion and its fusion with its army will not accept either that Algeria's faithful children are attached to the principles and ideals of their glorious revolution of the national liberation, which helped put an end to the scourge of the colonialism throughout the world. He continued, saying that for a number of reasons, Algeria has been and will continue to be targeted by its enemies who do not want it to remain united, reconciled with itself and proud of its history and civilizational heritage. He added that nor do they want it to build itself economically, socially and scientifically, or to be strong, resilient and endowed with the elements of power. The Army General confirmed that the PNA, alongside all patriotic men and women, will continue to work tirelessly to preserve the reputation of Algeria and the greatness of its people. He stressed that this is to be achieved by strengthening our military capabilities and deterrence so as to rigorously combat all those who seek to undermine Algeria's sovereignty, national security and economic potential. At the end of the meeting, the Army General followed the speeches of some of the executives and listened to their concerns before signing the guest book of the National Gendarmerie Command.
And as part of their humanitarian missions, units of the Naval Forces Coast Guard intervened yesterday at 8:20 p.m. after the Regional Center for Surveillance and Rescue Operations received a distress signal from a British-flagged vessel named Spirit of Discovery. The ship, which was en route from Gibraltar to Malta, reported being in distress 16 nautical miles northwest of Cape Matifu off the coast of Algiers, with 3 British passengers on board in danger. And in coordination with the National Center for Sea Surveillance and Rescue Operations, a 2-phase rescue and evacuation operation was immediately launched. It involved an MS-66 helicopter from the 560th Search and Rescue Helicopter Squadron and a 240 class rescue boat from the Dulles Coast Guard unit. The 3 passengers were successfully evacuated and transferred to Mustafa Basha University Hospital for medical care. And this operation confirms the constant readiness and commitment of Coast Guard units under the Naval Forces Command to carry out sea rescues and save lives under all circumstances. As part of Samad Khak's working visit to the United States, the company's president and CEO Rashid Hashishi toured the facilities of the giant Chevron in New Mexico. The delegation received an in-depth briefing on the advanced technologies used across the company's operations and visited several key sites, including a wastewater treatment plant, a battery storage center, a solar energy production facility, gaining insight into some of the latest innovations adopted by the companies in the energy sector. The World Bank has released a report titled How Algeria is Creating a Dynamic Economy for the Future. It highlights Algeria's efforts to diversify its economy, noting that non-hydrocarbon exports have tripled in recent years, reaching $5.1 billion in 2023. The report also views the 2022 investment law as a key driver of economic growth, given the tax incentives it provides. It further points to development in port operations and the shift towards modern management techniques as indicators of ongoing economic transformation. And in Algiers, a two-day training course has been launched for young journalists aiming to raise professional standards, enhance skills and rebuild the connection between the university and workplace. Organized by public television, the session seeks to better equip the next generation of journalists and improve the overall quality of information in the media sector. Maya Al-Bahri reports.
Regional meetings with journalists and media professionals are ongoing. After Oran, it was in Algiers that the Minister of Communication, Mohamed Mezyan, continued discussions on the challenges facing the media sector, placing a strong emphasis on the vital role of training.
Training must be first considered as an investment. It must be perceived as an added value for both the institution and the individual. It must be based on a variety of knowledge, because the idea of convergence between theory and practice, or between academic knowledge and field experience, has disappeared. Algeria is going through significant economic, social, political and cultural transformation developments that the enemies of this country cannot overlook. It is up to us, journalists, to be at the forefront, given the great influence and deep connection Algerian television has with its audience. We need to say with strong sense of responsibility and must be the driving force of this response.
The Minister of Communication emphasized the importance of strengthening the links between university education and professional world.
We must now consider how to create this positive encounter, this constructive interaction, so that students, even before graduating, have a concrete understanding of the reality of media industry.
This approach aims to strengthen the entire media sector by ensuring a better link between education and the demands of the professional world.
In other news, Sofian Shaib, Secretary of State to the Minister of Foreign Affairs in charge of the National Committee Abroad, began a working visit to Brussels, where he met with business leaders, investors and members of the Algerian community residing there. The visit aims to reinforce ties between Algeria and its nationals abroad and to support the role of this community as a key contributor to national economic development. And amid France's deepening crisis, Rotaillot and his far-right allies persist in using hate speech and anti-Algerian messages instead of offering real political solutions. Maya Al-Bahri explains.
These footage are some of the most embarrassing ones that Bruno Rotaillot would rather forget. They show early signs of cheating by the man who is now in charge of France's Ministry of Interior. If he was willing to cheat when he was young, it's not surprise he now insults others with harsh words, words used by only people without honor.
Channel Van Hanouk, are you talking about Bruno Rotaillot, whose name has come up again in a cheating case during Interville, a TV game show he joined years ago? Maybe he never spoke about it because the accusation is serious. The cheating was revealed by the French former host Olivier Chapuis. So, Monsieur Rotaillot, were you involved? Back in 1997, you were close to Philippe de Villiers when the village of Le Pied de Feu competed against the town of Ansounis. You're accused of cheating by sharing answers. The story needs to be explained. Bruno, you can't end your political career with a scandal like this. Can you imagine someone like Jean-Luc Reichmann being accused of cheating 20 years later? No one saw it back then. He was the director who saw it in the slow motion. Yes, there was cheating on a TV show. Aren't you at least a little embarrassed, Bruno? And after Interville, you kept Jean-Pierre Foucault's number, the host of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. It makes us wonder, were you already planning your next victory through cheating?
Rotaillot, lost in his own world and with a history of lies, is now putting the future of French people at risk. Even people from his own country call him a disgrace and say he's making France look like a country that judges others while being guilty itself.
Par cette proposition de résolution, le Rassemblement national...
With this new resolution, the National Rally is again trying to turn problems between France and Algeria into problems between Europe and Algeria. Once again, we're disappointed to see the Algerian issue used only for local politics. This hard attitude pushed by the far right and parts of the French right is represented by the Minister of the Interior himself, Bruno Rotaillot, always talks about Algeria in terms of migration and security, instead of trying to calm things down with diplomacy. This kind of constant tension and talk about identity doesn't help France at all.
Bruno Rotaillot is seen by many as someone who only cares about himself. He puts his personal goals above his country's needs. People ask, how can someone who only looks like a politician but has no real leadership lead a country? From a questionable past to weak leadership, he shows the worst side of politics.
President Trump's advisor to and special envoy for Middle East and African affairs stated in an interview with Hadith Channel that Trump administration seeks a resolution to the Western Sahara issue that satisfies both parties. He emphasized that the Western Sahara file is an important matter that has lasted nearly 50 years and that the solution must be acceptable to both sides. Najah Tayyar with the details.
Trump's special advisor for Africa made the United States stance on Western Sahara unmistakably clear during his interview with the Hadith Channel. He reaffirmed that Washington supports dialogue and mutually acceptable solution to conflict, and this position once again delivers a blow to the Makhzen.
Algeria is ready to accept any solution that the Polisario accepts. As soon as the Polisario accepts a solution, Algeria goes along with it, coming back to Trump's statement in 2020. Although he granted a form of sovereignty to Morocco, there were also some very important words. It was clearly about dialogue and reaching a satisfactory solution for all parties. This declaration is therefore in favor of dialogue and mutually acceptable solution.
Trump's special advisor also highlighted Algeria's role in hosting nearly 200,000 Sahrawi refugees, underscoring the country's long-standing support for Western Sahara, especially in international forums. At the same time, the Sahrawi people persist in demanding their right to self-determination in line with international law. The Western Sahara, recognized by the United Nations as a non-self-governing territory, is still waiting for the long-delayed referendum to be held, and this declaration thus reaffirms and strengthens, if ever a reminder was needed, the position Algeria has consistently defended, that is, no viable solution can be considered without taking into account the legitimate aspirations of the Sahrawi people.
In Mali, a recent press conference brought together several speakers who voiced their deep concern regarding the escalating authoritarian tendencies of the military power, infringing upon fundamental freedoms. Melissa Kibash.
Organized by the Coalition for the Sahel, the event was an opportunity to evoke the erosion of fundamental freedoms, liberties that are the bedrock of any democratic society.
La Coalition Sahel Démocratie a tenu vendredi 18.
The Coalition for the Sahel organized in Paris a press conference to express in front of the African and international press its regret to see in the situation in Mali. Regarding the dissolution of the political parties, a fully multi-party system was enshrined by martyrs who gave their lives. This is a democracy claimed by blood. It cannot be trampled underfoot. The rule of law, freedom of expression and democracy are sacred elements at the heart of our constitution. We urge Goïta to reverse this decision and not go through with it, as it will create a political crisis.
Revenir sur cette décision et n'est pas aller jusqu'au bout, parce que ça va créer une nouvelle crise politique.
Since the military took power, this continuous delay of elections serves to maintain a climate of heightened tension within the nation. The transition authority is determined to remain in power, knowing the increasing crisis resulting from this decision, while those present at the conference stressed the importance of external scrutiny to prevent further erosion of civil liberties and ensure a legitimate and timely transition of power through free and fair elections.
Le peuple malien, dans son entièreté, depuis
the Malian people, and for 8 months, wish to go back to normal and choose their president, as the Malian people no longer trust Goïta, who uses propaganda and is incapable of offering security to the Malian people and Mali, but the contrary will do anything to remain in power.
Qui a une diplomatie à cascade, conflictuelle, pour se maintenir au pouvoir. Il profite du désordre pour garder le pouvoir.
Democratic observers present at the conference strongly urged the international community to maintain a state of vigilance, closely monitoring the evolving situation and its implications for democratic principles and human rights.
That was it for today's news. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.